Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will tell you my story. The story of all the painful struggles I have been through and all the lessons I have learned over the last 3.5 years. I will tell you how those struggles actually shaped me, how I dealt with those struggles, and how I am still dealing with them. Let's get into the video. But before I start, you might notice some dark spots on my face, right? That's because I've just recovered from chickenpox. It affected me very badly, but I'm totally recovered now. Unfortunately, it has left a lot of scars on my face and also left one permanent scar in my heart. I will get to that as we move ahead. But now I will tell you my story from the very beginning, from the point where it all began. It was back in 2022, my life turned upside down. I literally hit rock bottom. Now I'm slowly regaining my strength and rebuilding myself. You know what happened to me? I lost my father on this 1st August 2025. After 3 years of excruciating physical, mental, and emotional suffering, my father finally passed away. It's been 2 months now. I'm living without my father, something I thought I would never be able to do. I feel like a part of me has also died along with him. He was the biggest pillar of my life. My brain is still refusing to accept the fact that my father is no more. I can't believe that my father is not physically present with me. I feel like something very precious to me has been forcefully taken away from me by the cruel hands of destiny. That's what I feel. My father was my hero. And still he is and always will be. That will never change. No matter who comes and goes in my life, my father will always be my superhero. He was one of the greatest blessings that God has ever given me. But now, destiny separated us so ruthlessly. This separation and the last 3 years of suffering have taught me so many invaluable life lessons and realizations, which I don't think any book or any person could ever teach me. Only pain can teach us certain things in life, right? We understand certain things only when we ourselves go through some pain or loss in life. My family and I were forced to go through a series of back to back struggles for the last 3 years. And when I finally came out of it with a handful of life lessons, I collapsed completely. Because it was shocking for me to accept that only three of us came out, my mother, my brother, and me. That most important person in our family didn't come out, my father. We lost him along the way. We couldn't save him. No doctors could save him. No gods could save him. Who can I blame? It's our fate. All these life experiences gave me pain, intense pain that I cannot put it into words. And being in this state of pain, I would like to briefly share my story with you. And as you listen, I hope you might gain some insights from my story that will help you live your life with more awareness, make right decisions at the right time, and a lot more. Let's begin. As I said, it was back in 2022. To be precise, it was in April 2022, our life suddenly turned upside down. It was also the time when the world was slowly recovering from COVID. But for us, 2022 actually started with so many good things. I had finally landed my dream job, and that too in an IT company that I was dreaming of for so long. I started giving salary to my parents, and they were so proud of me. They were very happy. Together, we had just started living a better life. Also, um, earlier in January 2022, we fulfilled our dream of buying a car. Not a new car, but a small used car that fit within our budget. So everything was going well. We were living happily. But little did we know, life was about to throw one of the biggest challenges our way. I remember one evening in the month of April, my father telling us that he was feeling some sort of weakness or uneasiness in his legs while walking. At first, we didn't think it was something serious because apparently he seemed okay. Basically, my father was a very active person. I mean, super active person. I barely saw him sitting anywhere. He would be busy with something or the other all the time. So, even though he mentioned some weakness in his legs, he seemed okay. He was busy and active all the time. But the very next month, at the end of June, we shockingly noticed him struggling to walk. His normal walking pattern got completely changed. He lost the ability to lift his feet up and down like this. He it became difficult for him to lift his feet forward. He started dragging his foot, leaning sideways, and limping while walking. I swear, never in my wildest dreams did I think the weakness he mentioned would worsen into something like this. Because he had experienced similar kind of weakness before as well. But then he would consult a doctor and recover quickly. So I thought he would recover this time too, just like before. But I was wrong. By then, things had already entered a dangerous zone. We immediately took him to hospital. We consulted a very experienced neurologist in Kerala. He thoroughly examined my father. It was our first consultation. So after checking my father, the doctor advised us to visit him next week with the MRI scan reports and other medical reports. Like he told, we visited him next week with all the medical reports. After going through the reports and checking my father's health condition again, the doctor asked my parents to wait outside and asked only me to stay in his room. My brother was not with me at that time. He had gone outside to park our car. There were some parking issues. So I was all alone. I was literally in a sudden state of shock. I got this feeling that something had gone wrong. And that moment was something I never ever expected in my life. I had only seen that in movies and TV serials. In movies and all, when a doctor calls a family member inside, that means something has gone wrong, right? So when a similar moment came into my life, I was frozen. I was scared of what the doctor was going to tell me. Once my parents stepped out of the room, the doctor revealed that heartbreaking truth to me. My father had been diagnosed with MND, motor neuron disease. I didn't even know what it was. He then explained that there is no treatment available for this particular disease and that it is not curable. This disease comes under the group of rare diseases that affect only 1 or 2 people out of every 1 lakh people. He also added that this disease slowly weakens all the muscles in the body, and the life expectancy is about 3 to 5 years after the diagnosis. It was the same disease that affected Stephen Hawking, but he was a rare case who survived for many decades after the diagnosis. The doctor told me that the weakness in my father's legs would slowly progress and damage all the muscles in his body within about 3 to 5 years. As the doctor stopped talking, my whole body froze, unable to respond or believe what I had just heard. When I walked out of the doctor's room, I was completely broken. I had literally changed into a different person. The person who walked into the doctor's room with all the medical reports was not the same person who came out of the room. I honestly don't know how I handled that moment. The biggest challenge in front of me was to face my parents. But my whole body was shivering after hearing about the seriousness and the cruel nature of the disease my father was diagnosed with. I had so much faith in God, and I really believed that the medical reports would come out fine. But when I heard the doctor's words, everything inside me broke. And it even made me question my own faith in God. So as I came out, my parents were anxious to know what the doctor had told me. Because they too were shocked and worried when the doctor asked only me to stay inside his room and asked them to wait outside. They had already sensed that something was wrong and there was something to be scared of. So as I came out, my parents wanted to know what the doctor had told me. And oh God, I really don't know how I suddenly got that fake confidence and courage to face my parents and pretend like nothing had happened. Because I didn't want my parents to know about it at that moment. So I kept it secret. But to calm them down, I remember telling them like, no, there is nothing to worry about. The doctor just prescribed some medicines and we will buy them on our way home. That's all. Other than that, I said nothing. But I knew my parents understood that something had gone wrong because somewhere it was evident on my face that there was something to be scared of. But my parents believed my words. We got into our car, and as we were traveling, we had our normal conversations and laughs. While driving, my brother kept asking me what the doctor had told me. But I said, everything is fine. There is nothing to worry about. It was on that journey back home I realized that I had become an expert at pretending. Deep inside, I was crying. My heart was heavily bleeding with pain. But outside, I was behaving normally, just to make my parents believe that there was nothing to be worried about. We reached home at night. But that night, I couldn't sleep at all. As my parents fell asleep, I exploded into tears. All the pain and fear I had been holding from the hospital finally came out. I told everything to my brother. He too was shocked. Together we cried because we truly didn't know what to do next to save my father's life. Everything around us felt blank. Rare disease, incurable, no treatment, and even a good expert neurologist was helpless in our case. So we became clueless. And I felt like our entire life, happiness, and future had collapsed right there. That night, my brother and I sat together, completely lost but desperately searching more about this disease on Google and YouTube, hoping to find at least something positive. But the more we searched, the more broken we felt. All the information we got were extremely shocking, and they were not much different from what the doctor had already told me. And the worst part was the comments. It was heartbreaking to read all the comments under those videos. There wasn't a single ray of hope in all those comments. In every comment, people shared about losing someone they loved because of this disease within just 3 to 5 years after the diagnosis. We also came across some real videos and stories of people who had actually lived with this disease and eventually lost their lives. It was terrifying to watch those videos, seeing people struggling with this disease from the very first symptom, like a small leg weakness or hand weakness, and then progressing into the next stages and finally to the stage of complete paralysis. While watching those videos, what frightened me the most was that the very first symptom looked so much like what my father was experiencing at that moment. And I felt those videos were telling me, your father will also go through all these stages in the coming years. That thought was unbearable. I cannot put it into words, the pain, fear, and helplessness I felt in that night. Somehow we survived that night. That was the scariest and worst night I've ever had in my life. From the next day onwards, our life has never been the same. I lost complete control over my mind. I kept on thinking and thinking, not just thinking but overthinking about my father's health, our future life with him, and God knows what else. I spent hours and hours thinking, crying, and blaming the God for why this rare disease had been given to my father. What harm has he done to get this disease? And if no treatment, then how can I save my father? I was overly worried about how everything was going to turn out in the coming days. Literally speaking, I had gone mad. My mind was messed up with a lot of thoughts, fears, helplessness, and ignorance. In the midst of all this, I had to focus on my job. I was doing work from home around that time, but I was not able to concentrate on my job. I began taking frequent leaves. My brother had his online classes going on, but he too was not able to concentrate. All the time, with prayers and hope, we were searching if there was any treatment available anywhere in India so that we could take our father there. But no positive information was coming our way during those days. Thinking about all this, my heart would often get too heavy. Then I would go to the washroom and cry. While all this was happening, my mother was noticing all the changes in our behavior and all the unusual things we were doing. So she asked us what was wrong. Eventually, I vented out everything to my mother. And oh my God, after telling her everything, I felt like releasing a heavy burden from my heart. But at the same time, I was worried about what if something happened to my mother after hearing that news. And yes, it took some time for my mother to recover from that sudden shock. But she was confident. She would often say, "No, nothing will happen to our father. God will protect him. God will take away all our misfortunes and bad days." My mother always had a very positive outlook on everything. She used to say, God is here to protect us, not to harm anyone. My mother firmly believed that our father would survive this disease, and God could never ignore a good person like my father. Because my father was such a good and kind human being. He was a respected person in our society. Everybody used to call him Sir, Shivan Sir. My father's name is Shivadas, and everyone calls him Shivan Sir. I was very proud of that. Whenever I hear someone calls my father Sir, then I feel very proud. And my identity was like daughter of Shivan Sir. That is my identity in my village. In Malayalam it is called Shivan Sarinte Magal. That means daughter of Shivan Sir. This has been my identity that I have been carrying for myself with pride since my childhood. It was like a crown to me. Ever since I can remember, that's what I've heard from people about my identity. As a kid, I remember so many times at some gatherings or whenever I'm around some group of people, and when I became a part of their conversation at some point, I've heard people telling like, "Oh, this child, she's the daughter of Shivan Sir." So that title, daughter of Shivan Sir, was deeply registered in the mind of that small Parvati as a symbol of pride. and I carried that pride as I grew older. And even I started introducing myself the same way. I mean, whenever I go somewhere in my locality, and if somebody who doesn't know me comes up and casually asks me who I am and who my parents are, then I would respond like, "Do you know Shivan sir?" Then they would be like, "Yes, we know Shivan sir." Then with a lot of pride, I say, "Yes, I am the daughter of Shivan sir." When they hear that, their next response would be, "Oh, you are the daughter of Shivan sir." That response, filled with respect, has always strengthened my respect and love towards my father. Now, you might be wondering why everyone calls my father Shivan sir, right? That's because my father had been a teacher for 15 years in a private institute. He had taught thousands and thousands of students. And that's how my father earned this title Shivan sir. My father was a favorite teacher to many students. Later, he got another government job. It was in health department. I remember during his retirement day, his colleagues were telling that my father was the most trusted and sincere person they had ever met in their lives. And that was really a great honor that my father could have ever received for his sincerity throughout his service. Apart from that, my father was also involved in a lot of other selfless social service. So he was such a good person. He was a respected person in our society. And everyone who knew him respectfully called him Shivan sir. So thinking about all his good qualities and all the sincere and selfless service that he had done to the society, we were certain that nothing bad would happen to him. Even though there was no treatment, we believed that some miracle would happen and that miracle would cure him. Our faith in God grew stronger than ever. We intensified our prayers. We manifested his recovery. Meanwhile, without knowing any of this, my father was living with a lot of hope in the medicines that he was taking at that time. But see, he was a clever man. He knew we were hiding something from him. He knew something was wrong with his health, but he didn't know what kind of illness and how serious it was. As days passed by, my father's health became a little more worse. The weakness in his legs kept spreading, and it made him to a stage where he could barely stand or walk. On top of that, he started experiencing severe muscle cramps very frequently. Oh my god, those muscle cramps were very horrible. When he got those muscle cramps, he would suffer an excruciating pain. He would suddenly get up. He would make attempts to get up and press his legs and frantically massage as hard as he could until he got some relief from the pain. We could actually see the nerves in his legs twitching on their own. It was so scary to watch that involuntary movement of the nerves in his legs. It was so heartbreaking to see my father suffering like that in front of me. No medicines were helping at all. So I decided to take him to another neurologist. The second neurologist we visited was also known for his expertise in treating and curing some complex neurological disorders. So we visited him. My father was admitted to hospital. Again, my father had to go through some medical tests. We prayed for some positive news. We believed that some miracle would happen and the medical reports would come out fine. But contrary to all our hopes and prayers, the doctor called me inside his room and shared that same heartbreaking news. He said exactly what the first doctor had told me. "Sorry, I'm helpless. It is MND. rare disease, no treatment, incurable. Those words crushed me all over again. Actually, none of these doctors could tell me the exact cause of this disease. My father had no bad habits at all. He was not an alcoholic. He was not a smoker. My father had a very disciplined lifestyle. Yet, this disease came to him. So I wanted to know why and how this happened. But the doctors were speechless. All they could say was that the exact cause of this disease is still unknown. Scientists are still researching this disease to understand its causes. So that's why I call it fate, the cruel hands of destiny. But unlike the first doctor, the second neurologist gave us a small spark of hope. He said there is no cure, there is no effective treatment, but physiotherapy could help a little. It wouldn't stop the disease or reverse it, but it can slow down the progression of the weakness in his legs to other parts of the body. So he said, you first find a physiotherapist and then start therapy. That's all you can do now. Physiotherapy can slow down the progression of the weakness and even improve the life expectancy. We immediately started looking for a good physiotherapist, and finally we found one. We consulted him. After reviewing the medical reports, he personally told me that this is a rare disease. No recovery is possible. The only thing you can do is rehabilitation. He advised us to get some medical assistive equipment to make my father's daily life a little easier. Also, he suggested us to arrange a physiotherapist at home. So, as he advised, I bought all the medical assistive tools for my father and also arranged a physiotherapist to come to our home daily for treatment. Things were going like this until the middle of 2023. My father had learned to use these medical assistive devices. The physiotherapy was going on regularly, and because of that, the weakness was progressing slowly. It had reached only up to his knees, had not spread to other parts of the body. The progression of the disease was very slow. And my father seemed happy. Other than the weakness in his legs, he was otherwise okay. He had no difficulties in speaking. His upper body was totally fine. Other than the lower body weakness, our life felt almost normal. We spent quality time together every day. We had long conversations and laughs. We traveled to temples, beaches, relatives' houses, and other functions in our own car. We celebrated our birthdays and festivals together. We captured so many photos and videos together. So we had all these small happy moments in our lives, even in the middle of all the chaos. Happiness didn't come on its own. So simply by being together, we deliberately created some happy moments. So there was this sense of relief, and I truly believed this couldn't be motor neuron disease. And I used to imagine like the next time we visit the doctor, just like in movies, he would say something like, "Oh, what a miracle. This is not MND. And somehow my father will walk again." I used to imagine like that, and I truly believed that with all my heart. But by that time, my father was aware of his disease. He knew doctors were suspecting a rare disease called MND. But we gave him confidence, telling him that everything would be fine. He would get better with physiotherapy. My father was a big devotee of God Krishna. He used to pray a lot and chant mantras. But over time, he became mentally down as he was not feeling any improvement in his health even after months and months of physiotherapy and prayers. During those days, our life was all about hospitals and temples. One day, we would be rushing to the hospital. Next day, we would be traveling to temple, attending prayers for my father's well-being and recovery. In the middle of all this, my work from home period ended. So I had to go back to my office, which is quite far away from my home. Then things started feeling so heavy for me because I had to manage my job and family responsibilities together because I was the sole earning member of my family. At that time, my brother had just finished his studies and had no job. So it was my responsibility to take care of all the household expenses, hospital bills, physiotherapy charges. On top of that, my own expenses like my accommodation and transportation charges. Every Friday evening, I would come home, spend weekend with my family, and then I go back to my office on Monday morning. So this life routine, job stress, my father's illness, uncertainty about the future, financial problems, all these problems had been affecting my physical and mental health a lot. But it was during that time I started this YouTube channel because I wanted to do something on my own for my happiness. So it was in 2023 I started this YouTube channel, and my father was very happy about it. Every day he would wake up with utmost curiosity to know how many subscribers and views I got. And when I say the numbers, the happiness and pride I see on his face is something I will always cherish in my life. So my YouTube channel is not something I started from my comfort zone. I started this channel in the midst of all my problems. And my channel was growing well. I enjoyed making videos, but I couldn't stay consistent because by then things had become more challenging. I had no proper place to shoot videos. And at home, my father's weakness had reached up to his hips. His urinary bladder and bowel muscles had become weak. He started getting this tendency to urinate frequently. And every time he went to the toilet, he felt unbearable pain. And that pain stayed with him all throughout the day. So the pain from the muscle cramps and then this constant pain and discomfort he felt when he went to the bathroom were all making his life a hell. My heart bleeds when I hear him groaning in pain. There were times my father said he was fed up and didn't want to live with this pain anymore. We were devastated. We didn't know what to do. His body became too weak to continue physiotherapy. So we had to pause it for a while. But then things only got worse. Since there were no medicines in allopathy, we turned to Ayurveda. He went through some Ayurvedic treatments, but nothing worked. During that time, one of our favorite Ayurvedic doctors, a kind and a compassionate person who had always given us the strength to face some difficult situations, unexpectedly passed away the very next day after our last consultation. That was another shock for me. After his passing in the beginning of 2024, we moved to another Ayurvedic hospital for another extended period of treatment. After 1.5 months, that also didn't work out. We returned home with no improvement in my father's health and with no hope. We continued physiotherapy, but day by day, my father's condition was getting worse. I had lost all the hope. I was even hospitalized a couple of times during that time because of some health issues due to stress and low blood pressure. And at the end of 2024, we consulted another neurologist in Kerala, another famous neurologist in Kerala. After all the medical tests, he told us that my father had a tumor in his spine, and if it was removed through surgery, then he would be fine. We trusted him because his words gave us so much hope. And my father underwent that surgery, but that surgery didn't work out. That surgery was a failure for my father. They removed the tumor, but there was no improvement in my father's health. Contrary to what they had promised, in the end, the doctor said, "Sorry, this disease is unpredictable. You continue physiotherapy." I felt completely lost. I still don't know how to express that feeling, the regret, the guilt. I shouldn't have agreed to that surgery. That's what I'm feeling now. That's my fault. I still feel guilty about it. I shouldn't have agreed to that. My father had placed all his hope in that surgery, and when it didn't work out, it broke him physically, mentally, and emotionally. Witnessing his physical and mental state from so close was unbearable for me. And after the surgery, my father was asked to wear a urine bag for the rest of his life. And it completely shattered his confidence. We returned home from the hospital, and thereafter, he had experienced several health issues. There were situations where we had to call an ambulance, and he was frequently taken to nearby hospitals. By February 2025, he had become completely bedridden, and he was admitted several times for low sodium levels, urinary infections, and other complications. In June 2025, he developed aspiration pneumonia. His throat muscles had weakened, and that caused food to enter his lungs. We rushed him to hospital. That's when doctors told us my father had almost reached the final stage of this disease. His throat muscles and facial muscles were severely weakened. He couldn't swallow or drink anything. Food had to be given through a nasal tube. He lost his ability to speak. And the doctors said he might survive only for a few more days. What was more painful was that despite being bedridden, my father was fully conscious. He knew everything that was happening around him. He was listening to everything that doctors were telling about him. His mind was still active. So many thoughts must have been going through his mind. Maybe he wanted to cry. Maybe he wanted to speak, but he was not able to respond in any way. Witnessing that right in front of my eyes with complete helplessness was deeply a traumatic experience for me. And it was unbearable for me to accept that I was going to lose my father forever within a few days. But there was no time to sit anywhere, think, and cry because I was busy. I was busy buying medicines, paying hospital bills, and my brother managed all the other responsibilities while my mother stayed with my father every single moment, taking care of him. I also noticed that my mother was slowly losing her health while looking after my father. Yes, we were together. We were together feeding him. We were together changing his diaper. But for the last 3 long years, it was my mother who carried most of the responsibilities. Oh my God, please help me give my mother a good life because I've never seen anyone like her. A woman who has sacrificed so much silently for the people she loves. So in June 2025, we were constantly traveling between the hospital and home. And in July, he was finally discharged. Around that time, I don't know how it happened. Out of nowhere, my brother got chickenpox. He might have contracted it from the hospital because we were in hospital for an extended period of time. and we were interacting with a lot of people there. So I think he might have contracted it from the hospital. But our situation was already very difficult. It was at that critical point this chickenpox came into our life. The four of us were in close contact until the day before he got the rashes. So we were clueless, we didn't know what to do. We were extremely worried about our father's health. My brother went into isolation and we took every possible safety measure to keep our father safe. But despite all our efforts, once my brother recovered, my father got chickenpox in that bedridden state. Imagine how heartbreaking it was for us. My father had only a few days left. He was totally bedridden. He was fed through a nose tube. Already so weak. So it was in that fragile state this chickenpox came into his life. Destiny was so cruel to us. One challenge after another kept coming to our lives without giving us any chance to recover. And our lives became completely overwhelming and helpless. And you know what happened? Due to his low immunity, this chickenpox severely affected my father. His respiratory muscles weakened and he began vomiting and struggling to breathe. We called an ambulance and took him to hospital. But there were so many restrictions. No private hospitals were accepting a chickenpox patient. So we had to take him to a government hospital that had an isolation ward. But while traveling to the hospital in an ambulance, we had to cross so many hurdles. There was this traffic jam and a railway block. So we were stuck for more than 15 minutes. And during this time, my father's health was worsening. Witnessing him struggling to breathe, we sat inside the ambulance in panic and praying desperately. Somehow, we finally reached the hospital. My father was immediately taken to an isolation ward. They started giving him treatments. An oxygen mask was put on his face. The monitors kept tracking his blood pressure, oxygen level, and pulse. All I could hear was the beep beep sounds of the machines and the sound of my father's heavy breathing. I remember the day clearly, 1st August 2025. That is etched in my memory. Around 9 o'clock at night, my father's breathing slowed down. I watched helplessly. My father became motionless forever. I looked at the monitor. The numbers had disappeared. It is replaced by 2 single bars. In that moment, that reality struck me. He was gone. We cried and cried, unable to cope with that loss. But at least I was content. While he was breathing heavily, we were holding his hands. We were chanting prayers loudly. I don't know where we got that confidence, courage, and strength to chant prayers at that moment for my father. It was hard to believe whether it was all happening in reality or just a nightmare. Right in front of our eyes, we saw the most important person in our lives, the biggest pillar of our lives, going far, far, far away from us. When the nurses were cleaning my father's body, my mother and brother were crying intensely. But I was moving here and there. I was going here and there to complete the formalities to get my father's body back home. And my father was gone. After 14 days of his passing, my mother and I contracted chickenpox. Another challenge. Mine was a little complicated. It affected me so badly. It spreads all over my face and body. That's why I still have a lot of dark spots on my face. But these are just temporary scars. They have almost faded now. But what about the scars in our hearts? Who can heal that pain? Nobody can, right? If my father had passed away just because of the motor neuron disease, then maybe I could have accepted it. But why did God allow him to suffer with chicken pox at the end? That question still haunts me. Now it's been 2 months since I've been living without my father. Looking back, everything feels unbelievable. I still can't process the fact that my father is no more. I still can't believe that my family and I went through so many struggles. So, this is my 3 year long journey, a journey filled with pain, loss, and a lot of life lessons. Now, looking ahead, everything feels uncertain. I don't know. But slowly, holding on to the lessons that life has taught me, I am rebuilding myself, learning to live again, and preparing myself for whatever lies ahead. So that's my story. But before I end this video, I want to share some life lessons and realizations that my life has taught me over the last 3 years. So now let's get into those life lessons and realizations. Lesson number 1. Health is real wealth. Yes, my life has made me understand the value of health right in front of my eyes. When my father was sick, witnessing his physical limitations, dependence, and mental struggles from so close made me understand how precious our health is. I would say that my father had done nothing wrong to get this disease. He never had any unhealthy lifestyle or bad habits. It just came to him like an uninvited cruel guest. Yeah, leave that. I just want to tell you that don't deliberately invite illness through your unhealthy lifestyle. Take care of your health. Because the truth is, people will remember you and come to you only when you are in your good health. Once you lose it, most of your friends will go away from you. This is lesson number 1 from my personal experience. Take care of your health. Now, lesson number 2. You see people's real faces when you hit your lowest point. I wish I could talk about it from my personal experience, but no, it's painful. I don't want to hurt anyone. But just understand this. When you hit your lowest point, that's when you see the true faces of people around you. People you thought would stay with you may slowly go away from you. They just disappear. And the people you never expected will come forward to support you emotionally and financially. I've experienced it firsthand in my life. So the lesson I've learned is that no matter how big your social circle is, in the end, it is only your family who will be there for you. When everyone walks away from you, it is only your family who will stand by you. Lesson number 3. Have a medical insurance. I can't stress enough how important this is. It is crucial to have an active medical insurance. Having a medical insurance can save you from losing all your savings and salary because it provides cashless facilities at hospitals. I want to make a dedicated video about it later because I really need to share about this in detail. Now, lesson number 4. Create memories together with your loved ones. Don't wait for everything to be perfect to celebrate your life. No. Celebrate every little moment you spent with your loved ones and capture those memories in the form of photos and videos. Lesson number 5. Protect your mental health at any cost. No matter how hard life gets, make deliberate efforts to come out of it. It was during my father's illness I started this YouTube channel just to engage myself in something else. A small relief from all the pain and stress. Even when I was away from YouTube, I anchored 2 functions and I also did some other activities that gave me happiness even in the midst of all the storm. I really want to make a video about it because I really want to share that with you. So the point here is that nobody is going to save you unless you save yourself. So deliberately engage in the activities you love, even in the midst of all your problems. So these are a few life lessons that I have learned from my life. And there are more, but I cannot cover all of them in one video. But you can definitely expect more lessons in my upcoming videos. So this is my story, and these are a few life lessons my life has taught me. If my story could teach you anything, even a little hope or strength, then that's more than enough for me. So please take care of your health, celebrate every little moment of your life, stay grateful, live your life happily, and hold your loved ones close. Thank you so much for listening to my story from my heart to yours. Take care of your health. See you soon in my next video. Bye.